a great show, guys. We'll see you on the other side.
Hello.
If you knew what your true yes was and what your true no was in all areas of your life, would you be able to choose faster and easier? What futures would those choices create? Everyone is capable of connecting to their bodies in a way to have more exuberant and joyful living now and in the future. Now, here is your host of Choosing a Different Future with Siris.
Hi, everyone. I'm Siris Raquel Rivas Verdejo on Choosing a Different Future with Siris. And today our topic is Break Your Good Girl Contract to Stop People Pleasing with my guest, Lisa Stryker. If you're new to our show, you'll know that this is a show all about the things that we can choose and the resources, the spaces that we can visit and be so that we can create a life that actually lights us up and is really yummy and it has exuberant living as a part of it. And you're going to love what we're talking about today as a part of your journey with that. And if you're also new to us and our show, if you want to connect in person, we have some upcoming events. Go ahead and check out my website, empoweringlightlanguage.com, and you can visit and see all the different coming up events that we're going to have, including some awakening classes in November and in August. And we have a class coming up just in July 24th, right around the corner in 3 days, of our monthly Being a Different Possibility for Families call. It's on dysregulation, disobedience, and distraction. Now, today's topic, I'm going to read our little description here. Do you overthink how others feel about you and run on a hamster wheel in your mind in an effort to find ways to keep others happy? Are you drained at the end of the day because you're overwhelmed with all your duties, obligations, and meeting others' expectations? Is a good day defined by how much approval you received from the people in your life? Are you secretly or not so secretly angry at people who tell you no? If you answered yes to any of these questions, you unknowingly signed a good girl contract somewhere along the way, and people pleasing has become a way of life, but it's running you ragged and leaving you spent. The good news is people pleasing is a habit you can break. So we have Lisa. Hi, Lisa. I'm going to tell our listeners a little bit about you. Isn't she absolutely stunning and gorgeous? I love it.
Thank you. What a nice intro.
And Lisa is a certified coach, trainer, and speaker, and the founder of, am I saying this correctly? Connects
Communications. That's right.
Coaching and training with a focus on mindset coaching for midlife women. Her one-to-one coaching program is designed to take you from overthinking, second guessing, and self-limiting perfectionism. Oof, I know a lot about that. To creating a clear personal point of view and becoming a calm, confident decider with a capital D. Lisa comes from a 25-year career in communications and reputation management, where she discovered that her highest calling is people development. Welcome, Lisa.
Hello.
To Choosing a Different Future with Siris.
Yes.
And for people who want to connect with us, we are live streaming right now on the Inspired Choices Network, on inspiredchoicesnetwork.tv, on Facebook, and on YouTube. So
hello to all the people.
And join us in our chat room at inspiredchoicesnetwork.com/chat room. You pick a name, you pop in, you can comment, and we'll read your questions and comments along the way. So in this show, Lisa will show us what a good girl contract costs you and 3 steps you can take to break the contract and reclaim your one precious life. And I'd love to start, Lisa, with, well, what led you to creating your business?
Well, it was a long and twisted journey, Siris, but it revolved a lot around what we're going to talk about today. I realized in my path through several different life events that I really had no idea what my own opinion was about my life. Somewhere along the way, I gave up control of my own life decisions to other people, and I was looking everywhere outside myself for the answers. And I couldn't figure out why I was so confused all the time about what to do, very indecisive. I would spin out a lot. It would take me a long time to make decisions. And I started to do some self-development, investigation, reflection, went to therapy, found coaching. Long story short, I realized that that was no way to live. And I wanted to choose a different future. I didn't want to keep living that way. And so I found the help I needed to figure out my way past that, what I'm going to call conditioned thinking, and the way I was conditioned to think, the way I allowed myself to be conditioned. And it was incredible and exhilarating and also scary. You know, making those changes can feel really scary. That's why having support can be so important. And that's what led me to become a full-time coach. I want to do that for other people and help them set themselves free the same way. Doesn't have to be, life doesn't have to be small. People say all the time, it feels risky to play bigger, but I think it's really risky to play small.
Well, that's, wow. I love that. And I can second that in my own experiences as well. I definitely, when you were talking about, and in the description, there was this whole like self-limiting perfectionism. Like I was buzzing with anxiety in high school and in college, trying to be the perfect student, the perfect daughter, like anything under an A was unacceptable, like so much stress. And so for you hit this moment, it sounds like, where you realize, okay, I don't want to live this way. This is not sustainable. And so how does someone know if they've signed a good girl contract? Like, how did you know? What was the moment that you were like, oh, wow, got it, that maybe we can illustrate? Because I'm sure there's a lot of different ways that it can show up.
Yeah, it does show up in a lot of different ways, but I do find some commonalities through my research and my experience with my own clients and honestly, friends and other people. You know, that this is not uncommon. What you will find is that generally you feel inadequate a lot. You feel like you always feel like you're missing the mark, because if you are a people pleaser, which is really what the good girl contract is all about, you're trying to never ruffle any feathers, don't rock the boat, keep everyone else happy, and you've set yourself up for an impossible mission. You're not in charge of other people's happiness. You cannot control other people. You can't create feelings in other people. That's all up to them. So it's an illusion of control, but it's not real. And so you will always feel like you're falling short. And so that will leave you emotionally very depleted over time. You'll feel like you always feel like you're missing the mark. And you'll also feel guilty a lot. Because we have human needs, we all have human needs, and you'll think there's something wrong with that. You'll think that you should be able to do more, be more, always be available, ever reliable, the go-to gal or guy. I mean, this doesn't only affect women. It does commonly affect women, but I talk to a lot of men who are facing the same thing, FYI. And you're going to be stressed because your calendar, your schedule is usually, for people who have signed a good girl contract, your schedule's bursting because you're trying to be all things to all people. Mm-hmm. Those are the common symptoms, and it costs a lot.
Well, and that I really get that. I would add as well, from how it looked like for me, is it was both looking at and people pleasing and worrying about everyone. I have been and am currently a lot of people's emergency contact. My dad's power of attorney, like, you know, all these medical decisions for people, dealing with estates and funerals and all the people that have passed is often either me, my mom, or us together. And so the other piece of like doing things for others, it was also this piece of, you're the one that's going to take the action. I don't have to do anything, because I know you'll handle it, right? And so sometimes it's I don't want to control all this, but you're giving me control, you're handing me it over, and sometimes you don't even want it. You're like, could you do it? You got this. No, you do it better. And that can be the slippery slope as well. And
that's so interesting. Yeah. Because we train people how to treat us, right? And when you're the go-to person all the time, you set yourself up for that.
Yes.
I've been there. Absolutely been there. And they're handing it to you, and you don't always have to take it.
what I've been practicing is like, oh, that's nice, and I'm holding it, but they're trying to take, like, that's so pretty and cute. Here you go.
Here you go.
Right
Yeah.
back.
That's wonderful. One of the most powerful questions I learned to ask is, oh, so who's going to be in charge of this?
Mm-hmm.
Because I used to just take it on without even asking.
Dude, of course it's me, like everyone else. The subtext of the conversation was, of course, Siris. Yeah, that's a really good one. I'm going to add that in. I like that a lot. Who's going to be in charge of this? Who's responsible for this? Yeah,
that's right. That's right. It feels really
right.
good
It
to help
does cost you a lot. I'd love to know, what did it cost you, and what have you been seeing that it's cost some of the people that you've worked with?
It cost me my emotional well-being, honestly, for a long time, because I was constantly, you're in constant conflict. I had needs and wants, but I was denying them all the time. And that's not sustainable. So I was always in a low level of stress, it felt like, because I was worrying about keeping other people happy, which is not really in my control, even though I thought that was true at the time. And at the same time, denying myself what I wanted and needed. So think about it this way. Life is all about balance. And in any relationship, like you pointed out, you've got some family things that are going on. And, my elderly in-laws live with us. So I can relate to that. There's greater responsibility. However, if you are taking on responsibility, taking it on, and never balancing it by meeting your own needs, then at some point the whole system collapses. And so I was exhausted. I was really just exhausted and racked with self-doubt, because you never learn to trust yourself in that paradigm.
And one of the things, it's like, you might trust yourself with wherever you're controlling or taking things on, but then these other areas of your life that you'd like to develop more. Maybe you'd like to improve your health. Maybe you'd like to have a romantic partner and better relationships, better communication, whatever it is, it gets put to the wayside because you keep leaning into and devoting all this time and attention and energy on the things like, well, I'm really good at this. And as much as it's not really sustainable and great for me, like, I got this, I'm confident in this. This is my mode of operation. So to all of a sudden pivot to a new way of operating and functioning, you're right. It's very uncomfortable.
Very.
I'm still on it. I'm still on that journey.
I'm working on it too. It's a process. Yeah.
And it takes a lot of courage. It takes it's like, really, like, it's at first it's effortful, and you have to be very conscious about it. And then it becomes your new normal. I love this. So, one of the things that comes to mind, and some of our listeners talk about this, and if y'all are in the chat room and everything, chime in, please, is we get a lot of people that they're wondering, okay, I get this isn't great. I was just talking to one of my family members, I was on a road trip recently, and we had this lovely brunch, and she was like, I can't keep functioning this way. And yet I don't know how to go from where I'm at right now to what I'd like it to be. So one of the things that I know you do really well that I'd love to talk about is these breadcrumbs that we can kind of lay out for some people. For me personally, one of the things that I did before, it was everything on the schedule was about everyone else, being that the doctor's appointments for people, clients, and all my appointments for professional development, going to this person's birthday, picking them up from the airport. I had that. A transitional step was, okay, each day I had something in my calendar for me. It could, and it was a simple thing like a TV show or a meditation or receiving energy work, and then it started to expand. But what are your tips on that? And actually, we're gonna do a break, and when we come back, I want to talk about the tips on that. So it gets you brewing, and it builds some anticipation.
Yes, let's do it. Yeah, I'm going to take you a little step back. So we'll start before you do the tactical things of putting things on your calendar. Let's talk about that.
There's a lot of breadcrumbs. You want to really illuminate the path here. So yes, everybody, you're listening to Choosing a Different Future with Siris on the Inspired Choices Network. And when we return, we will continue to discuss Break Your Good Girl Contract to Stop People Pleasing with my special guest, Lisa Stryker. We'll be right back.
Most people haven't been taught how to listen and partner with their bodies in order to create lives that include clarity, pleasure, ease, and connection. Tuning in to Choosing a Different Future with Siris, you'll receive tools, inspiration, and resources on how to use your awareness of bodies and energy to your advantage. Siris is a family and child coach and therapeutic energy worker who will guide you to get clear and acknowledge what's brilliant, magical, and a gift about you.
Are you a subject matter expert? Are you here to share your expertise with an audience waiting to hear from you in only the way you can deliver? Are you ready to have your voice amplified across the airwaves? Inspired Choices Network has a global radio platform streaming to millions of people across the world. Professionally produced and supported by an accomplished team every step of the way, you can broadcast from anywhere in the world, knowing your voice matters, and we ensure it is delivered with ease and efficiency. Eager to hear your message, the world awaits. Contact us today to become an Inspired Choices Network radio host. Email become a host at inspiredchoicesnetwork.com.
This is the Choosing a Different Future show with Siris. To participate in the program, join the live studio audience in our chat room at inspiredchoicesnetwork.com. Connect with Siris through her website, empoweringlightlanguage.com. or send an email to empoweringlightlanguage@gmail.com. Now, back to the program.
Welcome back, everyone. I am Siris Raquel Rivas Verdejo on Choosing a Different Future with Siris. And today our show topic is Break Your Good Girl Contract to Stop People Pleasing with my special guest, Lisa Stryker. And our show is brought to you by Activated Liquid Collagen from LifeVantage. Liquid collagen is a different, better collagen supplement. Get real results that you can see and feel. Check out the Activated Liquid Collagen and LifeVantage's other natural plant-based products to address anti-aging, gut health, energy, and more. You can check out the information on our episodes page. And our episode is also brought to you by the Elements of Living, the ingredients to creating empowered, authentic, and joyful living with your body. By familiarizing yourself with the Elements of Living, you can identify where you already have the ingredients to create a phenomenal life that's worth living to you. Receive the introductory quickbook on the Elements of Living for free by emailing us at empoweringlightlanguage@gmail.com with the subject line elements. All right, and before we went on break, we were starting to talk about some of these breadcrumbs. If you are someone out there that is like, okay, I think I'm doing some people pleasing, or I know I'm doing some people pleasing, got it. Now, how do I get from this way of functioning to maybe having a little bit less people pleasing, a lot less, however much you get to decide, however much. Lisa's going to give us some breadcrumbs here. I mentioned an idea that I started to do from my experience with this, but Lisa's like, wait, back it up. And I was like, all right, girl, I'm here for it. What's up?
Well, I was thinking back to when I first started on this journey, and I realized at that time, one of the things that prompted me was I didn't even know what I wanted to do. Like if I was to say, what do I want to put in my calendar? Number one, I'm not really clear on what I like to do and how I want to use that time. And number two, what do you mean? Then how do I clear that time in my calendar? So I love the tactical nature of that, Siris, and I think it's a great tip. What I needed before that was to get really clear on what was important to me by getting into learning what my values are, doing true exercises, walking through journaling exercises. What is most important to me? Why? Why is that important to me? And then your priorities become clear. One thing that came clear to me was that I wasn't taking care of my body at all because I wasn't sleeping enough. I wasn't giving myself nutritious food. I wasn't making time for exercise. And that's common among people who have a good girl contract, is they don't want to make that a priority. So if you're not sure where to begin, start there. Do some self-discovery and journal to yourself or talk to someone, a friend, a coach, whoever, someone you trust, and just kind of get it out of you. What is missing in your life? What would make you feel better? And that will create that breadcrumb trail to what you want to start adding in to your life. Then you have to figure out how to make space for it. That's a whole nother ballgame.
Yeah. I think that's a great place to start. I think a lot of people don't ask themselves, well, what do I truly want out of my life? And one of the things that I do is I actually walk through people, we create a joy list together when I'm talking with my clients. And a lot of people do not know what brings them joy that doesn't have to do with other people. That's the thing. A lot of people are like, oh, when I'm with my family, it brings me joy. And it's like, okay, what if you're just on your own and you're not relying on anyone else for your joy? Then what does that look like? And a lot of times, especially if you're deep in this contract, it sounds like, ooh, there might be crickets when you ask that question to yourself. And then that's a really great place to start, because you have a lot of space to then start playing around with some possibilities. And then with those choices, you'll know, yep, this is what brings me joy and this is what doesn't. So yes. Okay. Values. Can you speak a little bit more about how someone can know better what their values are as they're breaking the good girl contract, and some of the steps people can take to do that?
There are easy to access values exercises available out there that will give you a list of values. And what I would recommend as you go through that is to feel in your body which values resonate with you. You brought up such a great example of, I like to spend time with my family. A lot of people will say, my family's everything to me. What's so interesting is that when you discover that your values are connection, for example, that was one that came up for me, relationships, what came clear to me was that I wasn't having that with my family because I was so busy worrying about what they were thinking about me, whether they were happy, is someone going to be upset with me, that I was not having the connection. I was not building genuine relationships. So when you go through and look at lists of values, for example, figure out, see which ones you feel they have a visceral reaction with you, and that's going to start lighting the way. And not only does that show you what's important to you and help you start clearing a path for breaking that good girl contract and reconnecting with yourself, really, it will also get you more in touch with your body, which is what so many people are missing. And I was, for sure, with that good girl contract, is you disconnect from your body because you basically are ignoring your own, the signals that are coming from inside the house, right?
Well, and it's you're really speaking to a great audience with that. Our listeners, especially those that have been listening to past episodes, we talk a lot about having your yes and your no with your body. And your yes is just what's going to work for you, and your no is just not going to work for you, what's not true for you. And for each of us, our yes and no shows up differently. And the same thing, even just something like as innocuous as chocolate, maybe a yes for one person and a no for another person. Like it's not really yes. Chocolate's not really yes for me. I'm sorry.
It's a big yes for me. I can tell you that. And I didn't need any exercises to figure that out.
There you go. It's a yes for Lisa. It's a no for me, right? And then there's some things that are no for everybody, and yet we still choose it anyway. Like dealing with, with codependency or having people insult us or put us down, was like, that's a no, and yet we're still allowing those people to be around us and to talk to us and to access our space in any way. So I was really curious. I'm wondering for you, when you're talking about some of these things that you've been seeing with your clients, what are some of the ways that it has shown up with them where they're realizing they get these ahas and they're like, okay, I got to change this. And how did it look like when you walk them through these exercises that you've been mentioning?
A lot of people come to me not understanding exactly why they can't express themselves. They're not getting more of what they want. They feel so exhausted and depleted. They can't make time to take care of themselves, all of that. So we work together to uncover what's happening for them. And so often those symptoms are there, and that shows them that they just don't know how to say no to other people, or they are so familiar with that role of being the go-to person, being hyper responsible. It's interesting because it starts out as such a positive thing. Of course, we all want to be responsible and reliable and keep our commitments. But what we discover together is that they are not keeping any commitments to themselves. All the commitments they're keeping, they're making commitments to other people, they're keeping them. They start to make a commitment to themselves, and then they're just breaking those commitments left and right. And that really shows up with a lot of times resentment too. They'll feel angry with their boss, angry with their partner, their children, because they feel like they're being depleted by all the demands. What I help them see over time is that they have control over that. They have the ability to set boundaries, to say yes in a different way. It doesn't always have to be no. It could be, sure, I can do that this way. Here's how I can contribute. Here's how I can support you. Or to the boss, if I take on this project, then what project can I put on the back burner for now?
I love that question. That's
Things
a good
like
one.
that. Yeah. And I teach them to learn to trust themselves, to recognize that that is real. What they're feeling is real. That's what brought them to me. It's the messages they're getting from their body. The body keeps score, are there to show them that things are out of balance. And then once I get them to that place where they learn to trust themselves, and we help them get that courage to start doing things differently, because you hit it on the head, it takes a lot of courage. Then I teach them the communication skills, because that's what's next. You can think about this stuff all day long, but me, I don't want you overthinking it. Overthinking is thinking about things and never coming to any decisions and not taking any action. So you get the courage to take action, and they start going out there and doing things differently.
And I love what you said about committing to yourself. It's interesting. I facilitate the awakening classes, and it's an energetic practice and technique. And one of the hand movements and considerations for one of the things that we do in the sessions that we give and receive in the class is, are you committed to living, or are you committed to dying? And we're looking at that, and through our choices, and we unlock where we have been doing a lot more of including death energies and blocking things in, and making other people's emotions and their tasks ours. And then when you have that space and you let it go, you can truly commit to living your way and living exuberantly, like in a way that lights you up. You have more energy, you have more clarity. And so I love what you said about that, because it really does take a commitment, but not just a one time. It's a continuous, like, again, today, okay, and what am I doing today? And keep flexing that muscle. Just like you don't work out at the gym one time and all of a sudden you're fit and you got the muscle definition you want. You got to keep working those muscles.
I talk about doing your reps all the time.
Yeah, all right.
When you see the results of the choices you're making, it helps you see that you have a lot of control over your own life. So I love what you said about making different choices. That's really what it's all about. Growing your awareness of what the results are of your current choices, and making different choices to create different results.
That's essential. That's essential. And I'm listening to you, and I'm thinking about how we met as well. And so we didn't really get into that. Like, so Lisa and we met at a NABO event, which stands for the National Association for Women Business Owners. And we met at an event for NABO in Charlotte, where we both live. So I get to talk to her anytime I want.
How lucky are we?
How lucky am I, right? And we immediately clicked in so many different ways, energetically, but also just a very similar approach to really empowering people to get how their choices can create a different possibility. And so one of the quick questions I had before our next break, Lisa, because I remember you mentioned this, and I asked you then, I was like, what do you mean by that? You specialize, you've worked with all ages, but I know you specialize really with people in midlife. What does that mean to you?
People ask me that, like, what age is it? And I think it feels a little different to everyone. But what that means to me in general is that point in your life where you stop. So many people reach a point in their life where they stop. They take a look around and they ask themselves, how did I get here? Did I create? How did this happen? And it says, I don't know that I want to keep going in this direction.
Mm-hmm. I've had that in my 20s, and then in my 30s, and then in my, it's like, yeah, you can have it. If you don't try it out each decade, just let's check
Why
in with
not?
ourselves.
Why not? It's a common time around 40s in general.
Yeah.
Seems like a common time when people start questioning, do I really want to keep doing this? And how,
At the age that you are, if you're asking those type of questions, you might be as someone that can resonate with you in your approach.
That's right. Yeah, absolutely. Especially if you're not sure how you got where you are and you really are unclear how to make any or feel frozen or stuck. Like classically, the people who come to me are thinking a lot about it, but they're not making any decisions or taking any action on it.
Gotcha. All right, well, we'll pause there. It's time for our second break of the show. When we return, we will continue to discuss some of these breadcrumbs and steps that we can take so that we can break our good girl contracts. So you're listening to Choosing a Different Future with Siris, with myself, Siris, on the Inspired Choices Network, and we'll be right back.
Most people haven't been taught how to listen and partner with their bodies in order to create lives that include clarity, pleasure, ease, and connection. Tuning in to Choosing a Different Future with Siris, you'll receive tools, inspiration, and resources on how to use your awareness of bodies and energy to your advantage. Siris is a family and child coach and therapeutic energy worker who will guide you to get clear and acknowledge what's brilliant, magical, and a gift about you.
How wonderful would it be to carry your favorite Inspired Choices Network host with you throughout your day? Well, now you can. Inspired Choices Network now has its very own mobile app. Our free app offers live streaming shows, along with thousands of podcasts and TV episodes. Our shows cover a wide variety of topics. Whether you're waking up with us, carrying us through the day, and taking us to bed with you, we're always here for you to enjoy. We're easy to find. Just search for Inspired Choices Network in the Apple App Store or Google Play Store.
This is the Choosing a Different Future show with Siris. To participate in the program, join the live studio audience in our chat room at inspiredchoicesnetwork.com. Connect with Siris through her website, empoweringlightlanguage.com, or send an email to empoweringlightlanguage@gmail.com. Now, back to the program.
Welcome back, everyone. I'm Siris Raquel Rivas Verdejo. I'm Choosing a Different Future with Siris. And today our show topic is Break Your Good Girl Contract to Stop People Pleasing with my special guest, Lisa Stryker. And just so you know, our show is brought to you by Activated Liquid Collagen from LifeVantage. Liquid collagen is a different, better collagen supplement. Get real results that you can see and feel. Check out the Activated Liquid Collagen and LifeVantage's other natural plant-based products to address anti-aging, gut health, energy, and more by going to our episodes page. And our episode is also brought to you by the Elements of Living, the ingredients to creating empowered, authentic, and joyful living with your body. By familiarizing yourself with the elements of living, you can identify where you already have the ingredients to create a phenomenal life that's worth living to you. And receive the introductory quick book on the elements of living for free by emailing us at empoweringlightlanguage@gmail.com with the subject line elements. Now, before we were going on break, we were talking about some of the signs of how we would know if we have a girl contract or good boy contract, because that's the other thing that we've talked about as well, that this is not just relevant to girls and to women. And funny enough, while we were on break, I checked my messages, and on my Facebook Messenger, and thank you guys, I'm trying to check that as well. A dad messaged me, one of my clients is a dad, and basically I'm going to read a little bit here. It says, thank you so much for this discussion. I am thinking of how to be a better dad, and I get that knowing about this information can empower my daughter. And so what other tips do you have for a mom or dad that is raising a young girl in this world so that they can not have a good girl contract? Wow. Yeah. Great question. Woo! Great
question. And I have a quick answer before we jump into the rest, if you don't mind. And that is,
let's go into it. Yeah.
Role model this for them. When you are dismissing your own needs over and over and over again, even if it's for your children, you're teaching them that that's what adulthood looks like.
So if you are caring for yourself, including yourself in your life, and not just always doing everything for everyone else, making sure your needs are being met, you're being an example of this.
That's
Okay,
right.
they're watching you. We've talked about the kids watch you more than listen to
Always watching what you're doing. Yes. And that includes telling them no. And you can say to them, I need to make time to exercise today. We can do this another day or whatever, right? It doesn't have to be, no, we're not going to do this. That's what I think that's what people think of when they think, oh, I have to start saying no to everyone. That's going to make me a terrible person. It's not about that. It's about just protecting your own needs. So, that saying, you can't pour from an empty cup. That's what it's all about.
Yeah, and for those of you that haven't already checked it out, or maybe you want to check it out again, we did do that episode on 1,000 ways to say no to, I think, go beyond codependence or something like that. So you might want to check out that episode, and it's a beautiful complement to this discussion. So Lisa, one of the things that I'm curious about as we've been talking is you mentioned, I don't want to forget to mention also that everybody that is on our email list and that has registered for this episode too will get a copy of your article that you wrote, and it's called The Good Girl Contract. And we've talked about some of the things in the article. I know that there's some other things that is mentioned in there that we're not going to really get into today, so that's why we put it there. But why would someone want to read that article and check that out? Because I found it when I read it, I was like, this is so cool, because it's like a ready reference for someone who wants to take those first steps and really seeing if they even have a contract. What were you thinking as you wrote that?
Well, the first thing I was thinking is I want to help people see themselves, because awareness, as we jump into like, what are the steps to overcome this habit? Awareness is really the first step for any personal development change. So that was one of the things I wanted them to see. I wanted to feel that I was relatable. So I told a story about my own life and how part of the reason I came to be a people pleaser, or I really like to say it differently, because I don't think I am a people pleaser. I think I fell into the habit of people pleasing, because
That's an important distinction. Yeah.
it is. That
It's
just
not an
means
identity. It's the habit, like those patterns.
exactly. It's all about growth, of the ability to learn new ways to do things. And so it opens your mind to that possibility. And I also went into some of the costs of people pleasing that we've talked about today. And just as a reminder, this is costing you something. People feel afraid to make changes in their lives, but they forget that it's already hard. Pick your hard, right? Do you want to keep going the way things are and it be hard? Or do you want to be more true to yourself and do some hard things to create a future that you feel more inspired by?
A future that you're more inspired by. Woo! That gave me some
I'm
goosebumps.
speaking your language, aren't I? Yeah, right? It is absolutely available to us. And that's one of the reasons why I became a coach, is to open people's minds to the possibilities. We're so closed off. We think we just have to, white knuckle our way through, but it's not true.
It isn't true. It's one of the most prevalent lies out there. And one of the things when I'm working as, I work a lot with family and kids, and with a lot of busy caregivers and busy parents. And one of the things that I point out to them that is in the same vein of what you're saying is that if they're not taking care of themselves, they're not going to be here long enough for their kids. They're not going to, that's when the ailments are coming in, the aches and pains, they have less energy. Like, and what you said earlier about being the model, like this dad's question, being that model and example, they're watching and they're going to think, okay, I am a burden. I'm seeing my parent exhausted. I'm not seeing them happy. I see them arguing with each other about me and all the things that are, the tasks involved in my life. I guess I'm a burden and I shouldn't ask for things either. And that's one of the other sides of when you're doing the people pleasing, is like you stop asking for your needs to be met.
Absolutely.
And I did it was so hard for me to ask for people to help me for, anything beyond like, okay, maybe an airport pickup. And I used to be like a counter. I don't know if this was relevant to you. I used to be like, okay, they did this for me, I'll do this. Like, and I would do more, but as soon as I asked for one thing, I had to make sure I did something back. because I didn't want them to
Mhm.
feel like I was thinking, oh, I'm burdening them. I don't want to do that. Not thinking, well, when they asked me for 5 things to my 1, I wasn't seeing that as a burden. I wasn't seeing the other side of it. But it's like, oh no, if I ask, it's a lot. And I think part of that, and I speak about this when my mom has been on the show on the Limitless Azúcar series, and I had special needs and special abilities siblings. I saw very clearly the stress she was dealing with. So I was like, I'm going to make myself small. I'm going to entertain myself in the corner over here. I was happy drawing and reading, and I would go into my own world. So it wasn't like I was miserable, but I
Right.
definitely didn't want to add to the obvious load that they had on their plate, especially my mom. And so what tips do you have for people who have a tricky time asking for what they need, asking for help, for contribution in any way? Like, what are some of those first initial steps that they could take?
Yeah, that is such a great example. So awareness, like we were talking about, start noticing when you're doing that. That's going to be the first step, because that's what's going to show you how your choices are creating the results in your life. And when you start connecting those dots, it gets much easier and clearer to make new decisions that will create something new for you. So for the example you gave, where you felt like you needed to give so much more than they were giving you, that is exactly what I show my clients, that you're holding yourself to an impossible standard. Why do you hold yourself to a much higher standard than anyone else? So releasing the need to always be the giver, because if you think about it, you want to be in control. That's another way that we try to control our lives, or the people around us and our circumstances. It helps us feel more in control when we're always the giver. So releasing the guilt, releasing the need to hold yourself to a much higher standard, or a standard of perfection, recognizing that not everyone's opinion holds the same weight. That's a big one.
Preach.
Right? It's like we forget that, I ask myself all the time, would you take advice from that person? If you wouldn't take advice from them, why am I giving their opinion any weight at all? Why would I give their criticism power over me?
Well, on the other side too of that is that, let's say I totally would be willing to get advice from them. And I'm like, well, let me look at what they're doing and what they've created so far in this area of their life that I'm asking advice about. And how's that going? Because I caught myself, because they're my friends and they're really good, or family members that I really cared about. So I was like, oh, I'm going to value their opinion because they know me so well, but they wouldn't necessarily be applying that in a way that was tailored to who I was, to what I wanted, and to what life I'd really like to have. And part of that was on me, because like you mentioned earlier, I didn't really know what life I wanted. That didn't include giving to everybody. So they were basically,
you have to have a vision.
They were seeing so far. Like, of course you're going to be a mother, and of course you're going to be of service, and of course. And I was like, after I really had to start questioning a lot of those of courses.
All about, question the of courses. I love that. Yeah, get curious. When you can release some of this tension that I have to do all these things, it's all of a sudden you have room to get curious and explore and imagine, who could I be without all of these demands that I take on, that I allow people to pass off to me?
Yeah.
What else is possible?
What else indeed? Okay, we're gonna take a break right there. Woo, I love it. So it's time for our third break from the show, y'all. Are you enjoying this as much as I am? So
Sure
good.
am. I could talk about this stuff forever.
Right?
So good.
You're listening to Choosing a Different Future with Siris, with myself, Siris, on the Inspired Choices Network. And when we return, we will continue to discuss break your good girl or good boy contract to stop people pleasing with Lisa Stryker. We'll be right back.
Most people haven't been taught how to listen and partner with their bodies in order to create lives that include clarity, pleasure, ease, and connection. Tuning in to Choosing a Different Future with Siris, you'll receive tools, inspiration, and resources on how to use your awareness of bodies and energy to your advantage. Siris is a family and child coach and therapeutic energy worker who will guide you to get clear and acknowledge what's brilliant, magical, and a gift about you. This is the Choosing a Different Future show with Siris. To participate in the program, join the live studio audience in our chat room at inspiredchoicesnetwork.com. Connect with Siris through her website, empoweringlightlanguage.com, or send an email to empoweringlightlanguage@gmail.com. Now, back to the program.
Welcome back, everyone. I'm Siris Raquel Rivas Verdejo on Choosing a Different Future with Siris. And today our show topic is Break Your Good Girl Contract to Stop People Pleasing with my special guest, Lisa Stryker. And before we went on break, we were talking about the signs of how you know you're have the contract at all, that you're doing people pleasing, which is a habit, not an identity. That's an important distinction. And then some steps that you can take to start breaking that, to start unburying yourself from this pile of habits. Because that's certainly what it feels like, certainly what it felt like to me, and what I hear from a lot of the people that I work with and my friends and family that I've been detoxing these habits. And given what you've been seeing with your clients and this really powerful work that it seems like you're doing, what future would you like to see in the world?
You know, I have redirected a little bit to recognizing that I want to support empathetic achievers. The people who come to me are driven. They want to achieve. They want to do good in this world. They want to provide value. They feel stifled from that because of their conditioning, because of the habits they're in, the way that they think. And what I would love to see is more empathetic achievers have the empowerment to speak up, to take a look at where they are in their lives and have the courage to change that trajectory just a few degrees so that they can more fully contribute what they're meant to contribute to this world. That's really become my mission. The whole idea of midlife support, I realized that's what it is people who have they're very highly attuned to their own feelings, to others' feelings, and it's controlling them and helping them release that control so that they can take back their own autonomy and agency so they can bring their goodness to the world. That's the future I envision, Siris.
I would love that. I'm about it. I'm here for all of it. And I love the distinction that you're making about empathetic achievers, because we're not trying to have more jerks out there. Like,
please, no, that's definitely not part of my vision for the future.
And I think that's one of the lies that I recognize as I was starting to ask the questions that we've been talking about in my own journey, was I thought that if I didn't do this, I would be callous. I was uncaring. And it actually is one of the greatest gifts that I have given my people in my network, in my circle, in my tribe, to care for myself, because then I can be even more this shining light in my own life and for them. I have the energy. I'm less frustrated and irritable. As soon as I'm getting like brusque and short with people, like it happens to all of us. We all have those moments, but if it's like a continuous, like that's more and more how I'm interacting, it's time for those questions to be asked so I can use that empathy that I have for them to my advantage and include them in it, and then I include myself in it, instead of being like, empathy is all one way. No, there is a reciprocity. There is a two-way street with the empathy, including when I have that be something that fuels instead of depletes me.
So,
and it seems like that's what you're talking about. And
yes, because one of the things I definitely wanted to bring up here as we talk about overcoming these habits is what I call learning to have your own back. And it's all the things you're saying. We are very hard on ourselves, especially if we have these tendencies. We hold ourselves to a much higher standard than anyone else, and that gets in our way of giving fully and being there fully for the people we truly care about. How ironic is that, right? So learning to have your own back is all about turning some compassion to yourself, recognizing your humanness, encouraging yourself the way that you would encourage someone you really care about, treating yourself and talking to yourself the way that you talk to someone who came to you with the same problem, with that level of empathy. So making empathy your superpower instead of allowing it to hold you back. It really is. That is the key to everything. And it's the key to personal empowerment and finding the courage to make these changes, because I fully recognize that going against what's familiar is very uncomfortable. And we alluded to the courage that it takes. So having your own back also means giving yourself the space and grace to try new things, make mistakes, have it not go as well as you want it to, and not beating yourself up for it, but rather congratulating yourself for taking the steps, doing new things, doing what you need to do to learn a new way to be in this world, just the same as you would for someone else as you were supporting them through a growth journey.
Yeah, being the best friend that you probably are to a lot of other people, like that emergency contact person that go to. It's like, yeah.
It sounds so cliche, and I feel like people dismiss it, and probably because I did for a long time, like, oh, that's silly, be your own best friend. It has so much power. And if we were all walking around being really nice to ourselves, this would be a whole different world.
I love it. I love it. And one of the things, I really would very much like what you're inviting us to consider to be a part of the world more. The energy of it is not just really yummy. It's really expansive. If more people are like that, it creates so much more space for all of us to be ourselves in whatever way we're expressing ourselves, to connect in the way that we connect, communicate with our own fantastical voices we've talked about on our show. And so I want to make sure that people have information on how to connect with you. If you're on our email list, you'll be getting this information, but in case you're like driving, on the go, hiking somewhere, I want you to hear it as well. I have that. Lisa, your email address is lisa@lisastryker.com, correct?
Yep, you can reach me there.
And then she's on LinkedIn, y'all. I love the things that she's doing on LinkedIn. If you're not on LinkedIn, be on LinkedIn just for Lisa. The things that she's posting about and talking about on there are worth all of LinkedIn, really. So thank you for how you're showing up in the world on there. And one of the other things that I'm curious about, Lisa, is we have the article that people are going to be able to access. It's going to be on the Inspired Choices Network page. It's called The Good Girl Contract. Is there any other ways that people can connect with you or that you'd like to mention today?
Yeah, I would welcome everyone who's found this conversation interesting and inspiring to go to lisastryker.com and sign up for my weekly emails. I send inspiration, motivation, education, and I am putting together a mental fitness boot camp for the end of summer. And you'll get all the information about that if you're on my email list. It's a free 5-day challenge, and it would help really anyone, because who doesn't need more mental fitness? But especially if you're facing overcoming some of these kinds of habits, it will be especially strengthening for you.
And I'm going to remind y'all, she's not talking about thinking, like overthinking. Lisa's not about overthinking. It's about quieting that mental chatter of understanding. So the mental fitness almost seems like a mental resilience, perhaps. Would that be accurate? Or?
Yes, it's all about resilience. Yes, having the strength and courage to take action, get out of your head, get into your life.
Yeah, it's so essential. I think a lot of people waste a lot of time thinking and overthinking and analyzing and computing instead of taking.
I sure did.
Toward what we want when we know
what we want. You cannot think your way past this stuff. You're going to have to take action.
Love it. Well, that is Lisa. And then for next week, y'all, this is going to be our third attempt. If this is happening. We had to reschedule this topic 2 times. No matter what it takes, y'all, I'm going to be here for this, okay? Hold me accountable. We're talking about awakening your inner child's curiosity and wonder with the Discover. So join us for that. Don't let me not have your energy and your contribution, your questions and your comments for it. We'll see y'all next week. Thank you.
Thank you for listening to the Choosing a Different Future show. Siris returns Fridays at 10 a.m. Eastern, 9 a.m. Central, 8 a.m. Mountain, and 7 a.m. Pacific on InspiredChoicesNetwork.com. Until then, keep choosing what will work for you and your body, your own unique way honoring what will work for you.